This is a 2024 Ford Mustang GT. This is the 7th generation Mustang with the 4th generation 5.0 Coyote engine that makes 480 horsepower and 415 pound-feet of torque. And that's if you do not get the performance pack with the active exhaust. If you do get the performance pack with the active exhaust, you actually get 486 horsepower and 418 pound-feet of torque. And I'm very happy to be in this car today. But where am I? I am not on my usual roads. I am not in my usual state, and I am not alone. Sitting next to me is Detroit News columnist and good friend of mine, Henry Payne.
Hey everybody.
He's also very tall, and he's also a very accomplished race car driver. So he's a very, very good passenger to have, and you're gonna hear his opinions sprinkled throughout. The base price of the Ford Mustang GT, I'm gonna go ahead and put that up on the screen right now, but the prices definitely go up pretty quickly from there. There are a lot of options you can get, you know, performance pack and everything else. That does all add to the price. But real quick, actually now is a good time for me to pull over and show you around and inside this car in a bit more detail. Here it is, the 7th generation 2024 Ford Mustang. And this one in particular is a real nice and bright yellow, and it really nicely contrasts this different black you see here, the black side view mirror cover, the black roof, and also these black 19-inch wheels that is part of the performance pack. As you can see, these are Pirelli P0s. These wheels do not mess around, and behind those wheels are big old 6-piston calipers right here. Yes, those are Brembo calipers, and we also have Brembo 4-piston calipers on the rear brakes as well. Those are healthy rear brakes, nice thick ventilated brakes back there. And yes, this is also a staggered setup, 275s in the rear, 255s in the front. Looking at the front of the car, you can see that we've got this blacked out grille and this nice hood scoop right here. And then we've got this like real nice general look in the blacked out pony. These headlights have more of like a squint-eyed mean look, triple beams right there, and these nice scoops down low as well, and then a nice little front spoiler to top things off. Looking at the car in profile, you definitely see sports car proportions, and you can also tell that this car is actually pretty big, nearly 190 inches. And I'll go ahead and put the dimensions up on the screen and let you know that I have a lot more information in the description. Under the hood of this Mustang is a 5-liter 4th generation Coyote engine. It sounds fantastic. But you actually don't have to be in the car to hear it rev. You can rev this engine remotely using the key fob.
So then within a 3-second period, you hit unlock and then lock. So hit unlock and then lock. Now it gets to the 2000. Now you hit unlock and lock again. It'll take you all the way through the cycle. And now, until you actually open the door, you can hit unlock and lock again, and it'll re-rev it for you.
Yeah, this is a good engine. Looking at the car from the back, we do have this optional elevated wing up here, but then we have these signature like carved out tail lights right here. So you've got this real like sharp angle right here. Comes in, comes back out, and you can see that in the tail lights right here. And that gives you this nice sloped GT logo right there. And we also have quad exhaust tips for the V8. There's the back seat. You can see that we've got nice bolsters baked into the back seat. You can also see that it's a 4, not 5-seater. And you can see that there is not a lot of legroom unless the front seat guys are willing to compromise. The front seats, of course, are also very heavily bolstered. Look at these deep bolsters right here. Lower bolsters as well, so you really do truly sit in this seat, which is really nice. The adjustments, height, seat back, and fore aft is all manually done, which is good for weight. you do have the typical controls on the door and this nice chrome pieces, and otherwise pretty black setup. We do also have a couple of controls to the left of the steering wheel, and manually adjusting tilt telescope is right down here. You're looking at a 12.4-inch instrument cluster screen right there, and a 13.2-inch center console touchscreen right there, and a push button start right here. The air conditioning is going to get a little bit loud, but that is okay. It is quite warm. There is the 12.4-inch screen all lit up, and the 13.2-inch screen right next to it. Now, there are a lot of options baked into this screen, and I'm going to show you a couple of them. First of all, you have this nice flat bottom steering wheel right here, and the drive modes are right on the steering wheel. So if I click here, this turns it on. You have normal, sport, track, drag strip, slippery, and custom. And you can see that we got these nice graphics to go with each individual drive mode, and that changes what the instrument cluster screen is as well. In terms of looks, my favorite is sport. In terms of feel, my favorite is track. On the steering wheel itself, here are your adaptive cruise control options right here. This turns on cruise control. This is the lane keep assist, and this is the adaptive distance right here. If you're in the normal driving mode, you can independently adjust the steering weight with this button right here. But you can also make a lot of adjustments here in the center console touchscreen. I'm not going to go over all of it, but one I do want to show you, because it goes back to my childhood, is you can have custom themes. The theme can match the drive mode, or you can choose which instrument cluster look you get regardless of what drive mode you're in, or you can choose the Fox body Mustang from 87 and 93, and look at that. Oh my gosh, are we going down memory lane here or what? The Coyote does sound better than the Fox body Mustang did, though, I have to say, even with H-pipes. Anyway, there's a lot of different controls and options here. You do have wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. You do have USB ports down here. You do have a wireless cell phone charger. You do have a heated steering wheel. You do have dual zone climate control. Here is your fairly standard looking Prindle right here, but you do have a manual mode, and you do have shift paddles, upshift on the right, downshift on the left. You do also have a couple of cup holders and some lower storage down here, and you also have not a park brake. This is your drift brake right here, but this is also your park brake. So I'm going to lift the drift brake. Turning on the drift brake requires a few different buttons and modes. You have to be in the right drive mode and the right settings and all that. But when you lift it and give it a moment, it does function as the park brake. Anyway, it's really interesting to see how the Mustang has evolved for the 7th generation, but as much fun as looking at it is, I think it's definitely time to get back to the drive, so let's do that. All right, let's talk about the powertrain a little bit more, and I'm going to do it while we're on the interstate, but this is a California interstate, so I do think it might be a bit of stop and go. But as I mentioned right at the top, this is the 4th generation 5-liter Coyote engine. It is a naturally aspirated V8, and it sounds fantastic. You can choose between a 6-speed manual transmission in the V8 and the V8 alone, or you can get the 10-speed automatic. This particular car does have the 10-speed. The good news is the 6-speed manual transmission is the standard transmission. The 10-speed automatic is the optional one. The other good news is that it is a very good automatic transmission. Even with the automatic, you can spin up the tires a little bit if you want to show off a little bit. And with the automatic, you have really quick shifts, especially when you get into the sport and track driving modes. And when you get in the track mode, it'll keep the revs plenty high. It is very aggressive about keeping you in low gears. You do also have paddle shifters, so you can manually shift if that's your preference. But most of the time, the automatic makes good decisions when it comes to shifting. Of course, all Mustangs are in fact rear-wheel drive. That is the one and only way it can and should ever be. And overall, it is a great setup. We very much have sports car behavior here, not muscle car behavior. And that's been true of Mustangs for a little while now, but it's the most true it's ever been. And even though this is not the most important aspect of a car like this, I will briefly put up the fuel economy of the car on the screen right now so you can see that. But much more fun than fuel economy is accelerating in the Ford Mustang. Yes, it's a sports car, but it's still plenty fun in a straight line. Yes, I did test that. Let me show you right now. All right, everybody, time for an acceleration test. I do have the Mustang GT in sport mode, and I do have a V8 to play with, so let's play. All right, come to a complete stop. Foot is hard on the brake. About 2,500 RPM off the brake. Oh, yeah. Oh, what a sweet sound. Oh, God. 72, 73, 7,400 RPM before we shift. What a smooth and glorious sounding V8. Oh, yes. Nice acceleration from the 2024 Ford Mustang GT. 480 horsepower V8 screaming. Oh, that was a glorious sound. And yes, we're in a 10-speed automatic transmission, but that 10-speed provides very fast and actually quite smooth shifts. All right, a brief little interlude to that Mustang GT I was driving with the 10-speed automatic. I'm once again in a convertible with a manual transmission. So we have a quick couple minutes to play with this guy, see what the Mustang feels like with a manual. Let's do a quick acceleration test in this manual transmission Mustang. We still have 480 horsepower, but let's see how I do for shifting. I'll do about 3,000 revs. Probably could have done with 4,000. Oh, but a nice 1-2 shift lift, and what beautiful revving. Oh man, what a glorious sound. And that was good, strong acceleration. And I have to say, the 6-speed allows for pretty quick shifts. It is a well-behaved 6-speed that is a little bit better than I expected. It feels a slightly bit improved compared to the last generation Mustang manual. So yeah, it's a good 6-speed for sure. And you know, to have full control to say, you know what, I want neutral right now so I can rev it to 7,500 RPM right now. Or you know what, I want second gear, I choose that. If I want to slip the clutch, I choose that. So yeah, I mean, there's no denying the added connection that a manual transmission gets you. That is worth a lot. Okay, back to the automatic. Okay, I've said the word sports car plenty of times already, and we were on a fantastic driving road, so I did get some time to play around with the steering wheel a bit. Let me show you that right now. All right, we've got quite a few corners coming up. I'm now in the track mode of this Ford Mustang GT. It's time for a little handling test. As you can hear, I'm already moving. I do quite like the sound of this V8 Mustang, and being in the coupe, it feels a lot more solid, a lot stiffer. The ride is stiffer, but the body control is fantastic, and the steering feels a lot better. Much heavier steering weight, much more direct steering. It's more easy to be precise with it and have a better feel of what the front end is doing. So yeah, it's all quite good. This is a heavy car. You can feel more weight on the front end compared to the EcoBoost, the 4-cylinder, but man, it's tuned really well. We are getting a little bit of understeer as you start loading up that front end, but chassis balance overall is quite good. Even as you load the car up, you get a lot of good feeling. And in the track mode is not perfect, but it is generally quite good at keeping the revs high, keeping you in the lower gears, so you have good power coming out of the corners as well. So yeah, this is really a great handling Mustang. This is it's being a little bit more flexible with the transmission. This being the V8, it does take a moment to take a set into a corner. That's a nice little wiggle over a crest there. Now, it must be said, we don't have Porsche levels of precision here, but we also do not have Porsche cost, just to be fair. But the fact that Porsche even comes to mind when you're driving a Mustang on a canyon road, that's saying something. It's a little lazy to kick down on exit in sport compared to track. V8s, and I do love manual transmissions, but I do also love stiff structures, and we do not quite have the stiffest structure here, must be said. You can feel the difference between the coupe and the convertible pretty much right away, but you know, it still holds the road pretty darn well. And I have to say that the V8 steering, even with the convertible top, is a little bit better than the 6s. I think the added weight, when you shift weight to the front, just helps load up the steering just a little bit more. You get just a little bit more weight, makes it a little bit easier to be precise. Best handling thing, but it is still quite a lot of fun.
Yeah, V8's just great.
Okay, it's a little bit ironic because we're already on the interstate right now, but yes, I did do an interstate test, and we were actually going interstate speeds at the time, so let me show you that right now. All right, everybody, time for a quick test on the interstate, see how this Mustang GT feels on the road. We already know how it sounds, which is fantastic, but how much road noise gets through and how comfortable is the ride. And now that we're up to interstate speed, I can say it's really pretty darn good. The cabin isolation is a lot better than I would have guessed, actually. Considering everything, this car is composed and behaved and quiet on the road. I'm not hearing any whistles or buffeting of wind or anything like that. We do get some road noise, but not an excessive amount at all. Henry and I were on the road a little while earlier, and we were able to maintain a conversation at interstate speeds just fine. In fact, I can say, hey Henry, how you doing right now?
Yeah, we're doing good, and we've been talking on the phone in the car. The phone was good, all good.
The composure of this car on the interstate is actually a pleasant surprise. Now, even in the normal driving mode, the ride is a little bit on the stiff side. Having the heavier V8 up front means that it just has to have a slightly stiffer baseline in terms of suspension, but none of it is punishing in any way. It's just a little bit stiffer. You are going to move around a little bit more. And we do also have driving aids on this car. We do have adaptive cruise control on this car. We do also have lane centering. I'm going to turn that on right now. So it's called lane keeping system, and we are coming up on a subtle curve right now, so my hands are coming off the wheel. And it's following it pretty well.
There's a stalled vehicle ahead.
So you have lane keep assist, adaptive cruise control, and a lot of the other ADAS or advanced driving assist systems on this car. Pretty standard fare, really. But more fundamentally, the behavior of this car on the road and how isolated the cabin is a pleasant surprise. And this 13.2-inch center console touchscreen is really easy to use. So yeah, this is actually pretty darn pleasant on the interstate. So, Henry, what do we think of this car? What do you think of the 2024 7th generation Ford Mustang GT?
I tell you, Robin, you know, there's so much here with this car. I mean, we've driven in 2 days. We've gone from a 2.3-liter turbo 4,
yes,
which used to be in the Ford Focus RS.
Yeah.
That is the standard engine in this car. I mean, a true enthusiast's engine. And then today we're driving around the classic V8 GT and the Mustang. And remember, I mean, this is a Mustang that only one generation ago, for the first time, went to an independent rear suspension.
Yep.
So, I mean, fundamental changes in this vehicle. And then you bring in Magna-Ride on top of that. And features like fun features like remote rev and line lock. I mean, there's a lot to this car. A lot of fun to be had.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. It started going through changes in 2010. There was a mid-cycle, the S197 chassis, where they really started transforming it away from pure muscle car into sports car territory in significant ways. That's when we got the Boss Mustang and the Laguna Seca package. And then we started getting into the 2015 Mustang. We got the independent rear suspension, and then we got the Shelby GT350s. So this chassis really is an evolution of that. They're really just taking that concept that was really born out of the 6th generation Mustang and just taking it to the next step. I think you see a distinct benefit in the sense of styling. I think this is a much sharper, more sinister looking car. And otherwise, they just took everything they did with the 2015 Mustang and turned it up a little bit. And I think they turned it up in great ways.
Yeah, and I think the other thing that's going on, which is a challenge, I mean, there is a moment here where this muscle car, which clearly appeals to Detroit Woodward Avenue classic car collectors.
Absolutely.
You want to keep that customer. You want to keep them buying generations of cars, and so you have that enthusiast element here with the V8, with the Dark Horse, with the GT350s, the Shelbys. But you also have this new generation coming in that wants tech. The screen in this could be right out of a BMW 3 Series. And this is an amazingly technical screen. And then consider that this vehicle is an icon that has created a sub-brand. There's also a Mach-E,
right?
A Mustang Mach-E that this car has to influence both from performance and from tech. So this is really Mustang, I think, moving into its second livelihood as an icon for the brand and an icon for a generation that expects electronics.
And it also has to keep reminding people that the identity of Ford, the company as a whole, is still very much tied to the Mustang. So while we have a big push for a new era of vehicles, a lot of EVs coming, we still also have a big appetite for things like this. I'm Robin Warner, thank you for watching. And if you like this video, please let me know by giving it a thumbs up. Doing so helps me out a lot, and I'd really appreciate it. Also, if you're interested in something like the Mustang, I did not long ago get a chance to try out the Chevrolet Corvette. That is another iconic American sports car, and it's definitely worth checking out. And from there, I've reviewed a whole bunch of stuff by now, like seriously a lot. Something's gonna pop up on the screen next to me. Hopefully it's something you're interested in, and if you do end up watching it, I definitely hope you like it. Okay, goodbye for now.